It's the modern world. Here we are. Here we are. We got our, our video calls and our video making and the audio text. I got a really close buddy. She knows who she is. We audio text. Like, if we skipped a day, we'd be like, what happened? I don't know. I love our relationship because we can talk and we can listen when we have time. And then we could have conversation. But it makes it really cool because we don't have to be on the phone and hanging on to the phone. We can be like, all right, we say what we say, and we click, and then the other person can listen to it an hour later or when. But anyway, I love that. But there is a degree of separation there, and I'm thinking, there was so much trauma between me and my daughters as they were growing up because we experienced so much trauma together. And then we had a gap where I had them go live in another state. I'm like, yeah, you go ahead and do that because of lots of reasons. It made perfect sense at the time. For me, I mean, I know it was painful for them but it was also good for them. And my oldest said, "Thank you for sending me to Texas because I missed you a lot." But the school system was the atmosphere, the culture there better suited her. Where my younger daughter was like, "No, the culture did not better suit me," but I was able to do gymnastics in a way that was very important to her at the time that I could not afford for her to do it up here. So there was reasons, that were good. But I think that separation caused a thing to happen between us where it was out of sight, out of mind for a while. And that the trauma that we had experienced was over as far as currently. There was no current conflict between me and their father at the time at all. Because he got what he wanted. I mean, that's where the conflict ended. I gave him the kids. He shut the fuck up finally. It's like, okay, so there was no conflict. And so there was peaceful years, right? And then they came back, either for a visit or to live or whatever the case was. And what I found was when we got in the room together, it was wonderful at first. And then there would be moments in time where it would, I believe, and I know it for a fact, that the feelings of the trauma that we experienced together would just happen inside of us at various times without warning or without known triggering, whatever it was. We don't know. We're looking at each other. I didn't just looking at each other's face because we looked at each other all the time during this traumatic time years prior. I believe that this causes unresolved, because you don't know what to do because nobody could solve this thing because it was narcissistic abuse. That's what it was. It was a twisted up bullcrap. So we're looking at each other go, and I think that there's a lot of feelings and sensations between us, me and my daughters, that at first we didn't understand. I got it earlier than they did because they were kids. I didn't want to tell them looking at your face traumatizes me because that's not, how's that going to make them feel? It wasn't their face that was traumatizing. It was the memory. It was the body memories. That's where I'm going, of how we felt together as I was being attacked mercilessly by their other parent. And this carried over into adulthood. I remember talking to my therapist about it. I said, Dave, you know what? I got to be honest with you. I have flashbacks just being in the room with my kids, even if there's nothing happening. He goes, I know. He said, this is a very deep insight of yours. I said, and I can't tell them because, I've told them now, years later, so now that they're way into adulthood, and I think they're like, yeah. I feel like they agree. Because I didn't want them to think that I was saying that I don't want to be around them because they make me feel miserable. That wasn't it. It was, I recognized that. I recognized the phenomena, and it really sucked. Where am I going with this? Okay, and now I know where I'm going with this. I'm like, I feel like I've been, one thing me and my oldest always noticed when she was, as a young adult and in the Army and whatever, and she went, or in high school or whatever, and she was in Texas, that when her father couldn't identify with her, whatever her, young teenage girl problems were, that he would suggest that she call me. Because we didn't talk a lot. Because it made me when I heard his voice, or even over the phone at a distance, somebody talking to him, like when my daughters were up, and I would just freeze. I just have all this, I just felt like I was so traumatized by this person. The tone of his voice made me want to run and jump off a bridge. It's so horrific. But anyway, but he would say, he would have to admit when he would even tell me, I can't do anything with her, I would have her call you, and you always knew the right thing to say to her. When we had the distance thing, physical distance, where we didn't have that feeling of the imminent trauma all the time. And we had a good relationship because she wasn't exposed to my daily pain that I was still feeling. She wasn't exposed to it, so she was able to get her nervous system to be normalized. But she knew that I was very good with advice and things. And that's the interesting thing is, because she wasn't exposed to all my and then her level, her nervous system became more normalized. She was able to then engage with me and say, wow, this is a really productive relationship, Mom. I mean, she didn't say those words, but thank you. Thanks for saying these things to me. It's great to know that she was able to realize, maybe she didn't realize it consciously, but inside of her, she knew, she could feel, I do have unconditional love for her, and I want nothing more than for her to be successful and to be at peace with herself and feel strong and feel just worth her breath in her lungs. And and as she lives at a distance again in recent years, I feel like we're cultivating that more again. It's happening again, that enough time has gone by that we've not been in the same room together, that now her all the exposure to my that was so upsetting to her is not there. So she has now the luxury of my sanity. You know what I mean? My advice that is sane and reasonable and makes perfect sense, because her nervous system is not peaked out by the former trauma, by the whatever. So I'm finding this to be very healing for me, and thinking that she might be feeling the same way. I hope so. She looks at some of my videos. She doesn't look at them all, which I was like, yay, cool, yay, because I did talk about things and that were totally relevant to her, like the whole narcissistic family thing. I think she's curious to hear about it without the person talking being distraught. I think it's great to hear. So I want to say I'm really glad, and I think, so I'm saying this to say, if you have adult children that you've been through a lot of trauma with, that there's conflict between the two of you, but you can't understand why, because there's no real well, why are we like that? Why is there these? We're not like nothing's happening. Why do we feel that? Maybe you're feeling the trauma from the past that you two went through together, caused by the other parent or a narcissistic grandparent, for instance, or whatever. And that it's okay if you could never live next door to each other or even in the same, you know what? It's okay. I think what we've salvaged is incredible. I think that it is the root of our relationship, and I'm glad that it was, that she protected it enough to tap into it again and trust it. And she's been saying some very wise things to me lately. I'm very proud of her newfound insight. She just turned 31. That's the age. This is the earliest that people come to begin to heal from, childhood bullshit. That's like the earliest age. And my other daughter started doing it even earlier. I'm like, yeah, you go! Because she's 28 now. And I'm like, get it, kids! Heal from my bizarre whatever, melting down while you were growing up. I'm proud, and I'm going to continue to support this growth, even if I'm not in the same room. I realize why this person doesn't want me to be in the same room as them right now. I get it, man. initially to be told that was a painful moment. It was like, oh, because only if she only if she understood. She doesn't have to. What she understands is the way she feels when we're together. Sometimes it feels great. And then when we let our guard down, all of a sudden these bad feelings come in and we're like, what are these? And then we don't want to say it to the other one because we don't want to hurt the other one's feelings. It's not about them. It's about, I'm telling you, girlfriend, because I know you'll see this, it is because of what we experienced together. And then you watch me, woof, you did not need that, but it was the best I could provide. Honestly, it was the best I could provide. Exactly the same way that you're giving the best you can provide to your daughters, and that you have regrets and look back and go, man, why did I melt down that time? And why did I? It's all right. That's what's so great about being able to record these things, because you can review them. Is this, it's not as intimate. What are you talking about? Your relationship is in videos or in audio. Well, you know what? Beats the fuck out of my relationship with my moms, which is zero. Nothing. There's no relationship at all. So me and my daughters have apparently figured out the formula that's like, look, this can work for us very well. And it can be very productive for both of us. A lot of healing can happen for both of us. And when we do spend time together, which probably will not be large swaths of time ever again, but those times we can heal enough to where it's like, we won't have to feel that trauma, dramatic pain, and all this other crap that we couldn't really identify exactly where it came from. I think that can be moved past, and we can be done with it. And I'm looking forward to that day, and I'm not pressuring anybody on any timelines. Because what the fuck do I want to? I've never wanted to pressure anyone to do anything other than to stop being an asshole. They'll pressure you on that one. All right, YouTube, have a great day. And if you have to have a phone relationship with your adult child to have one, do it. Like, what's wrong with it? Nothing. Let's take advantage of the technology in a positive way. Okay. Peace out, YouTube.